we want to make sure that we are, as I say, touching on a range of campaigns. Bryan Simpson is someone that you might know, especially if you're in the hospitality sector, because he'll be knocking on your door of your bar saying, "Are you unionised?" The next question will be, "When are we going on strike?" Welcome, Bryan Simpson, to talk about unionised.
That's always a good introduction when the chair says you may know him and several people laugh. It's a good start. But it's been a difficult 20 months for our class, but it's been a particularly difficult month for hospitality workers. Since March last year, 30,000 croupiers, housekeepers, baristas, waitresses have lost their jobs in this city alone. 30,000. According to Forth, which is the most trusted employee data software in the industry, the hospitality workforce shrunk by 26% last year compared to 2019. That equates to 650,000 job losses across the UK, just in hospitality. Of course, the vast majority of these workers weren't terminated by small family-run businesses that could or were struggling to get by. They were sacked by multinationals who sought to use this pandemic to restructure their companies in order to minimise labour costs and maximise profit. Behemoths like the Marriott Group, the largest hotel chain in the world, a company that despite the pandemic still made £3 billion in clear profit alone last year. They refused to furlough all of their casual workers, mostly migrant women, because they did not want to pay the national insurance and pension contributions, which for each worker would have cost £150 a month. But the Marriott Group didn't want to pay it, despite the job retention scheme. The Compass Group, the largest hospitality employer in the world, an organisation which owns and runs the COP26 venue just down the road, the Scottish Events Campus, 90% owned by Glasgow City Council. They sacked 630 workers by Facebook post. The G1 Group, where you will be aware of if you've not worked with them in the past, Scotland's largest private hospitality employer, they sacked 2,000 workers by phone. Stefan King got his general managers to phone every single worker and sack them over the phone despite the job retention scheme. The Casual Dining Group that owns Bella Italia, Café Rouge and Las Iguanas, they sacked 1,900 workers. They invited them onto a conference call telling them it was an update. They sacked them and made them redundant on the spot. No notice, no consultation, no opportunity to put forward alternatives. In each of these examples though, instead of accepting what was done to them, these workers got together with their colleagues, they joined a union, many for the first time, and they fought back. They forced some of the largest employers in the country to reinstate them, but not just on 80% wages, on 100% wages. In some cases, they won premium payments of 135% of their wages for those that were still working through the pandemic. At the G1 Group, our members got together and organised a national social and mainstream media campaign that forced one of the most infamous employers in this country to back down within 48 hours, and they were all reinstated. At the Marriott Group, a workforce of majority young women and migrant workers clubbed together and demanded fair and equitable treatment, and they won. They won reinstatement. At the Scottish Events Campus, and I promise it does relate to COP in some way, at the Scottish Events Campus, our members launched a mass collective grievance and public media campaign which forced Compass not only to reinstate them on 100% wages, but also to pay them £12.30 an hour in the Louisa Jordan when that venue was turned into a vaccination centre. As a direct consequence of that win, Compass have just agreed a new venues agreement with Unite, which will apply across every single one of their venues, which includes the Scottish Events Campus, Excel Centre, Wimbledon, Wembley, Twickenham. In it, they commit to the real living wage of £9.50 an hour, which will go up in November, regardless of age. They're going to implement a proactive sexual harassment policy. They're going to offer minimum hour contracts, but most importantly, they're granting Unite access to all 70 venues. And where was that first rolled out? At the Scottish Events Campus. From a small group of young workers just last April taking action to stop unnecessary redundancy, their action is going to benefit 60,000 workers across the UK. And now in Glasgow we've got a branch of 2,500 housekeepers, chefs, waitresses, croupiers to show for it, organising against some of the most exploitative conditions in the UK economy. Fire and rehire, poverty pay, zero-hour contracts and sexual harassment. Of course, we've got a long history, as others, as Lynn has said before, in this city of workers coming together in the face of austerity or mass redundancy, with creative ideas to fight back. It's 50 years, as Lynn says, since 6,000 shipyard workers on the Upper Clyde refused to accept Heath's government diktat to close their workplace and led one of the most important industrial actions of the 20th century. They knew that if they just occupied the yards, they would be forced out in days, but by the full force of the state. So they developed a plan to keep the workplace open. They used cooperation and solidarity rather than the micromanagement that they'd been used to. And they built ships faster and stronger for the next few years. It was a genius stroke which brought together workers, but it also brought the public behind them, and the people of Glasgow marched with them. That is what Chris Mitchell is doing today. That's what the bin workers are doing today through social media and Twitter. They're getting the public behind them, and that's why Glasgow's backing the bin strikers. I recently had the pleasure of speaking alongside the workplace leaders of the Lucas Aerospace plant in Birmingham, workers who, in the face of mass redundancy, put together an alternate plan for how their workplace should be run and the products that they should produce. Instead of fighter jets and bombs, they designed heating systems for council houses, hospital ventilators and wind turbines. We learn from the workers of Lucas and the Upper Clyde that the politicians don't make decisions for the benefit of our class unless we force them to. That's why during COP, alongside cleansing workers, teaching assistants, rail workers, bus workers, the hospitality workers of this city, the people that are serving the likes of Joe Biden in £800 a night hotel rooms will be taking action to demand a bigger slice of the pie. As well as direct actions outside some of the city's poshest hotels, on the 9th of November, we shall be bringing together hospitality workers from across the world to develop organising strategies which aim to drive up standards across the lowest paid and most precarious sector. Bringing together the fight for climate justice and workers' rights. On some of your seats you should have a black leaflet, if you can get it out if you haven't already, and scan the QR code. It's very 2006. But if you can scan the QR code and come along, to hear firsthand how hotel workers in Africa are organising for vaccines, how housekeepers in Boston are fighting mass fire and rehire, and how chefs in Norway are campaigning against sexual harassment. Their message, and ultimately the message of this rally and today and tomorrow, is that working people run this city. We run this economy, not politicians or business owners meeting 2 miles away. And it's only by combining the strategies of mass industrial action with the disruptive tactics of the environmental movement that we're going to force the hand of these world leaders. That is our task, and that's why the People's Assembly is such an important vehicle.